Hey guys, what is going on? RedMaster here, and welcome back to an episode of Cards and Castles Hidden Combos, where today we have for you guys another Last Will deck, kind of. But I wouldn't say it's the normal. Well, let me put it this way. We've had Warlock Crusader Last Will on the channel before. I think we may have had, or at least the popular variation, the Warlock Pirate Last Will deck going around. But what about a mix between the two, and a Pirate Crusader Last Will deck exists? And it does, actually, in which, that's what we're going to kind of go over today and see how it works. But, I do want to kind of throw the mentions to, I forget who it was, but I actually saw someone pilot this on TV, and that's where I got the inspiration to kind of make this, because I thought it was pretty interesting. Pirate Crusader is a deck that we normally associate with things like Greed. School decks, revolve around the Pirate Crusader, and just general good stuff decks in those colors. You don't really get things like Last Will. But if you want to go for Last Will, you go for, obviously, the classic colors of Crusader Warlock. If you want to get a little more interesting, sometimes people go towards the Warlock Pirate, but no one really goes towards Pirate Crusader for Last Will. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the deck list now, actually, to show you guys what's going on for a Pirate Crusader Last Will deck. Alright, so here is our Pirate Crusader Last Will deck now. Before we, I guess, jump into it, you can pretty much, figure out what's going on by a quick scan of the list. It's not too different from the normal Last Will stuff you guys see in Warlock Crusader. Obviously, we're rocking the Andrew, we're rocking, common Last Will components like Lumberjack, Rider, and Banshee. But we also have some additional, Last Will cards in Spitefish and Nunchuck Nun. Just kind of throw those in here as, additional Last Will providers to Andrew. But you'll notice that there's, some things missing here. Obviously, we do not have the General, because he is in the Warlock faction. We also don't run Tarius Files in here. Mainly because I feel like, personally, Tarius Files, while it is a, good Last Will card, I don't really feel it's going to work as strongly in this one, because usually I advocate running Tarius Files when you yourself have a way to destroy it and not rely completely on your opponent. Or you have General, which obviously will, activate Tarius Files for you. But in Pirate Crusader, there's no guarantee that Tarius Files will be broken. Of course, you can set it up to provide sort of like that distraction and, threat of additional cards. But since you have no guarantee of, getting rid of it, I don't, personally run it in here. Instead, I'm using books as my sort of draw power here. I find books is sort of like a very solid, choice now for Crusader draw. You could also run Divine Knowledge here, or, like I said, Tarius Files, if you want more of the Last Will stuff, so I thought I'd mention that. But regardless, it doesn't really provide anything, it doesn't really pilot differently from a standard Crusader Warlock deck. You're just missing a couple of components. You're missing the burn, obviously, from Warlock, like I said, General, things like that. But what do we have? I've been talking a lot about what we don't have, but what do we have in this deck that kind of makes it, I guess, a good contender, or at least what makes it a, equally as strong, maybe not stronger, but what makes it a good deck, I guess, is the proper way to put that. Well, obviously, since we do run Pirates now, you do have a bit more of the early game stuff in Hovel and Elvish Thief to help you out. Of course, two classic early game cards for Pirate decks that work well here. Like I did mention, you do have the Spitefish running here as well for additional Last Will. You've got the Captain, again, Treasure, all that good stuff. You've got Scope, very important, I think, at least in this variation. Despite you being able to Scope in the Pirate Warlock variation, I think Scope is doubly important here, or at least very much more important. I think that's not the right English for it, but that's what I'm going to go for. It's more important in this deck because this is what you're probably going to want to activate more for Andrew and other things, maybe like Krakus and Mordok. Essentially, Scope is one of your, I guess, hopefully end conditions. Maybe not a win condition, but you want to have is just kind of make a lot of your things scarier here, and it works very well here, I would say. You've also got Robins and Execution, some of your standard pirate late game stuff. Robins, I think maybe he could be substituted out. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about him right now because I mean the treasure doesn't do a whole lot maybe to this board. The only reason why I can see Robins being included, at least personally for me here, is the idea of potentially a scoped Mordock or scoped Kraxus in the same turn. Um, Maybe that's just why I've included him here. I'm thinking about maybe switching him out, but at the moment I'm not too sure of a good replacement, so I'm keeping Robbins in there. But you can experiment if you don't have the Robbins. He is a legendary after all, so you may not be able to access that. So certainly feel free to, I guess, play around with that. And then, of course, running at the end, we've got Kraxus and Mordock, standard late game stuff that I just feel very good to have in any deck, really, especially Mordock. I mean, Mordock goes everywhere. I don't really see a deck, being run without Mordock nowadays. And then, of course, Kraxus, because Kraxus is ridiculously strong as a card in general. So, yeah, I think that's really going to round out the deck list. Again, not too different from your standard Last Will stuff in the Warlock Crusade. I think that's kind of what that's the main point I want to hammer out to you guys, is that really there is no, difference pilot wise. You're just getting a new mix of cards to mess around with here. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some games, or maybe jump into a game. Not sure how I feel. I am running a bit on, a little low on time, but that's me personally. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into the matchup here and see how well this deck actually performs. Alright, so jumping into the first matchup here, we have a pretty good hand, 2 books and a Banshee. I'm going to go ahead and sack one of the books, see if I can get maybe a cheaper unit. I end up pulling Andrew, which isn't really too bad, considering I have the Banshee in hand already, so that would be a nice little way to buff him up near immediately. Although we do not have a turn 1 or turn 2 play to start off this game. Actually, never mind, there's our turn 1 play. There's Lumberjack. Yeah, that'll work. I would ideally like to... Yeah, alright, we'll do this. We'll pass turn 2, we won't make a turn 2 play. We'll save Ryder for Andrew and instead focus on maybe Books, Banshee, and then Andrew as our 3, 4, and 5 play respectively. Opponent is rocking the Warlock Crusader, although no insight onto what exactly the deck is. We haven't seen any cards played from him, so he is amassing quite a hand though, which is certainly scary. We'll see a cleric go down. Hopefully that hits castle for heal, so that way we can trade with the books. Of course not. Why would you work with me, game? Yikes. None of that is what we're looking for. Let's go with the Nunchuck non-aggressively. We'll see if I can bait the cleric to attack. And then go ahead, summon out Andrew. Maybe. I think that's the play. Well, now I know that this is probably a knight deck. Oh, priest. I think we were saving that for cleric, I guess. Right? Were we? Huh. I mean, that's fine with me. We can go ahead and actually get Andrew out now. And be just slightly aggressive here with the Nunchuck Nun. Reason being, we get this killed off. Not only do we get the buff from the Nunchuck Nun, but we buff Andrew, and that'll be good. So we take down the priest. What's his response? Ideally, we could actually probably get out next turn Andrew Ryder. Even more Andrew buffs stuff happening. We meet a Sentry Golem. Alright. Not... yeah. Alrighty. be a bit more aggressive here, throwing the Andrews down here. No chain, obviously no Vikings, so I shouldn't be too worried about that. We'll bring Golem down a bit to see if that maybe prompts anything. Alright, not the heal he was looking for, but that's definitely what we were looking for. He's probably gonna get a goal off on a heal off on Golem then after the next. Oh! Alright, Blaze. It's a bit annoying, but okay. We could actually make a pretty good trade here. Knock out Golem and Cleric in one swoop. I think that's the play to make. So what we can do, oh, even better, look, we can armor up. Actually, yeah. Armor up here. We come in, do that. We survive that trade with the books. We do that. And then just in case any sort of weird shenanigans pop up, we have another Banshee over here to just, you know, reinforce ourselves even more. And yeah, I think we're in a pretty good spot going into the rest of the game. Rat King, alright, not going to do a whole lot unless you got a buff for that maybe. I mean, not even enough rats to trade with Andrew. Unless there's more. Or sacrifice, that could do something. Oh, you pain in the butt. I mean, I get he probably want to take down Andrew with the sacrifice. Unless he's setting up for... Oh, actually, if he's setting up for Cargrim, that's a big problem. I mean, not really big. We have execution, but you know what I mean. So yeah, a lot of sacrifice stuff going down. Leads me to believe Cargrim is in our very near future. I think we'll just go ahead, do a Banshee takedown, and plop 14 damage along with Craxus. That'll be the play. And if he does play Cargrim now, it's not going to be extremely beneficial. I mean, it will still end the game. I don't think he can afford to play it. He'll probably play Cargrim just for shits and giggles, I guess. Because, again, you really don't have a lot of options here. Or Craxus, alright. Big boy comes in, doesn't really do a whole lot for you. I mean, I have the game ender. 9-6, 9-12, you got 0 goals. So there is the surrender, and that will be a win for our deck here. Very strong showing. Obviously, that's kind of how I want most of the games to work. You got the Andrews being buffed up from the Abundance of Last Will. And, of course, you have some extra good stuff from the Pirates, including Execution, which we didn't get to pull off. Although, it could have been beneficial to maybe clear off a tougher unit that stood in our way. Obviously, Golem, we couldn't use it on because it had Deflect. Crax has Deflect, so can't really use it on either of those two units, but, I mean, we did have that. I don't know if no, we didn't get any treasure during that game, right? Not that I can think of. But no, overall, that was just a very solid demonstration of what the deck aims to do. Just, again, similar to any Last Will deck, you pump up Andrew to create this big unit, and hopefully with this deck, you get a chance to make that scope play and create an even more threatening Andrew backed up by the Crusaders. So, overall, very happy with how that deck performed. Alright guys, with that being said, that will do it for today's episode. Like I did mention, I was a little pressed for time here, so we are going to try to squeeze in a match. But regardless, let me know what you guys thought of today's deck by leaving your thoughts down in the comments section below. Let me know what you guys enjoyed by leaving a like on the video, be sure to share with your friends, and of course subscribe if you're new or haven't done so already. It's the best way that you can support the channel and what we do here by just clicking the subscribe button and notice the cost to you. And yeah, with that being said, that's going to do it for me for now. So, until next time guys, stay gaming.